Eskom chairperson Mpho Makwana has resigned. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan says he'll step down at the end of the month, a year after taking the position. Current Eskom board member Mteto Nyati will take over the role on an interim basis. Makwana's exit comes weeks after Gordhan rejected the Eskom board's recommendation for a new CEO. So let's unpack this further. We're joined this morning by engineer and energy analyst Mthunzi Luthuli is in studio with us. It's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed.
Good morning.
For coming on. I mean, you know, we talk about stabilizing the grid in the build-up to the end of the year, and by all accounts that does appear to be happening. How much does this put that job of getting stability insofar as load shedding is concerned at risk when we're seeing this kind of movement at management level?
Look, firstly, I think the Minister of Electricity, if you look at how involved he is at Eskom, you know, he is communicating with Eskom management on a weekly basis. He gives updates on a weekly basis. He almost acts as if he's the CEO of Eskom. And maybe that's why there isn't this urgency to appoint a new Eskom CEO. It might sound crazy, what I'm saying, but some of us have been saying, well, maybe it's because the CEO is in the president's office. Yeah. So we have to have an Eskom CEO.
Yeah.
Any company such as Eskom must have a CEO. But I think the stabilization of the grid will continue. And I think we're moving steadily in that direction. If we are able to bring in the Kusile units, the grid will definitely stabilize.
It's a contradiction, though, isn't it? Stabilizing the grid, and yet there is no, well, on the face of it at least, there is this lack of stability at management level. Mpho Makwana is now the shortest-serving board chairperson at Eskom, and he's the third in line of this management structure to have left just within this year. The CEO, the COO, and now the board chair.
Yes. No, it is crazy. We need stability at Eskom. Eskom is a company in crisis, and we need stability. The problem, Michelle, is government's policy in terms of the appointment of CEOs of SOEs. Okay. Now, normally with private companies, listed companies, the board appoints. There's the responsibility of the board. Now, with SOEs, you have this caveat that, you know, the board is involved in the appointment of the CEO, but actually, in other words, they are responsible for the process, but the ultimate appointment is done by the minister. This creates lots of problems.
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, the CEO has to work with the board, and specifically the chairperson. Okay? So they have to feel that they are accountable to the board. Now, when they get appointed by the minister, who do you think they will feel they are accountable to? When ministers talk to the CEOs directly and they are appointed by. So you have a situation where a CEO has this dual accountability role, which creates problems. Secondly, if the CEO is not appointed by the board, then he or she does not have the confidence of the board, and that creates problems. Okay?
Because then, is it a political appointment or is it a meritorious appointment?
You know, for me, the two are not mutually exclusive. And I don't think that in these appointments, in parastatals and in politics, that it's possible to appoint people that, you don't believe that you are on the same wavelength in terms of the thinking, ideology and such things. But when you make a political appointment, it can still be the right person. So in other words, when people say, the problem is that the ANC has not appointed people within its own ranks who are actually capable.
Right.
And there are lots of people like that. So yeah. But the key thing here is that the relationship between the CEO and the board has to be a good one, which means that you have to allow the board to appoint somebody that they believe is capable. You know, if a CEO is imposed on the board, then that confidence will not be there.
So Mteto Nyati, he takes over now as interim board chairperson at the end of the month. He's someone with a background at Altron and MTN South Africa. Is it the management experience? It's not necessarily the sectoral experience. So we're not looking for an engineer per se or someone with deep knowledge of electricity and power grids. Is it the management expertise that we're looking for someone to hold this position?
Okay. So firstly, in my view, the CEO of Eskom has to have the technical. So
this is for the board chair, though.
Oh, yes, the running of the boards, etc. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So being able to chair the board and being familiar with governance processes, right, etc. Right. That's what we're looking for. But I think that we do have a slight advantage with Mteto Nyati in that he's actually a mechanical engineer. Yeah. So he's a graduate of the University of Natal. Yes. And also Altron, or there are certain divisions of Altron that actually used to supply products and services to Eskom. So he's not someone that would be unfamiliar with the business of Eskom.
Yeah.
So I think from that perspective, it's not a bad appointment.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's ironic, isn't it, that Mpho Makwana steps down. We've talked about the fact that this leads to instability. However they want to couch it in their press statements,
yes,
that it was amicable, that it was amicably resolved. But the irony is that there were clashes with Pravin Gordhan, the Public Enterprises Minister, on the issue of the appointment of a CEO, right? Yeah. Pravin Gordhan says we should open it up to more experienced individuals above the age of 60. Or 60 and above. Yeah. What do you make of that?
I think you need to look at what's required from a person who becomes CEO of Eskom. For me...
It's a huge job.
It's a huge job. For me, there are 3 or 4 things that are important. Number one, the person needs to be a technical person. They need to have the technical skills.
Yeah. They
need to understand the electricity industry. That's the first one. Second one, they need to have the management and leadership capabilities. Number 3, they need to understand the politics around parastatals, etc. Number 4, they need to have the energy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because it's a demanding job.
And we're not talking the grid here. We're not talking power stations.
No, we're not talking power stations. They need to have the physical energy. Because they'll probably need to push 12, 14, maybe even 16-hour days sometimes.
Yeah.
Because of the demands of the job. So they need to have that energy. Now, if somebody has all of those qualities and skills, I think they qualify for the job, whether they're 45 years old or 55 or 60. That's my view.
Perhaps another topic should be that they need to have an incredibly thick skin. And then there's the issue of personal safety. If you're going to clamp down on the kind of corruption at Eskom, that's a real issue as well.
Yeah. It's a very difficult situation because people who have these kinds of skills don't really want to have to worry about their safety. They can get similar jobs elsewhere that do not come with these kinds of risks.
To your person and to your family.
Exactly. So it makes it difficult to find the right individuals.
Yeah. Big job ahead and stability sorely needed if we're going to continue the work of stabilizing load shedding as we head to the end of the year. Mthunzi Luthuli, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming into the program. He is an engineer and an energy analyst, speaking to us on all things Eskom.